Mercedes found a special development for Hamilton. Hamilton's 2023 season has endured a rollercoaster start, and it seems like he is finally enjoying the ride after the third race of the season has passed by. The Briton is still feeling disconnected with the car, but the fact that he was able to finish P2 and keep Alonso behind is a huge win for the team. Nonetheless, Mercedes is now focused on closing the gap to Red Bull, and to do this in a more swift manner, the team is now developing special upgrades to help Hamilton feel less disconnected from the W14. Join us as we go through the recent developments at Mercedes and whether Hamilton will have a legitimate chance of beating his biggest nemesis on the grid, Verstappen, as early as in Baku. Mercedes' pace in Australia was something that deserved huge applause, as both Russell and Hamilton were able to bring the W14 to P2 and P3 in the qualifying stage. Although they managed to complete the pass on Verstappen in Turn 1 and Turn 3 subsequently, Russell's bad luck with the frame of the pit stop and the reliability issues, as well as Hamilton's lack of straight-line speed, cost them the win. But nonetheless, the P2 was a huge result for the Brackley-based squad. Hamilton has spoken about the great result of the team, even though he wasn't satisfied with the fact that it wasn't celebrated as much as it needed to be. But there is one thing that keeps his head up. The gap to Red Bull is no longer a fantasy. According to the 7-time world champion, the Silver Arrows can now definitely fight with the Austrian team and beat them in their own game. And even though it's going to be a tough mission, it's definitely shifted from impossible to doable. When talking about this, Hamilton added, "I still feel uncomfortable in the car, though the car is still not. I don't feel connected to it, so I'm driving as best I can with that disconnect. I'm working as hard as I can to try and create that connect, but I think it's a long project. But still, we've been down on performance. We are clearly down in straight line pace compared to the Red Bulls. For us to be up there fighting with Aston, it's just amazing at this point of the season. And we've just got to keep on fighting. A big thank you to all the people back in the factory. Let's keep pushing. We can close that gap. It's going to be tough, but it's not impossible." Like I mentioned before, this is a major shift in the energy of the champion and his attitude toward the team, as not too long ago, he was called out for responsibility by the engineers that built the W14 and was very angry that the team didn't listen to him when it was mostly needed. Hamilton is not a huge fan of the design of the car, but apart from that, there are some other issues that the 7-time world champion has endured with the car so far in 2023, as they are set to be in the past after Mercedes' recent updates on the W14. In 2022, the W13 turned out to be a car with a strong rear end, which resulted in it bouncing and bottoming out more frequently than the other cars. However, while fixing this problem, Mercedes were able to build a car that has a very strong front end, which is further facilitated by the fact that the ground is now 15mm higher from the floor than it used to be back in 2022. Even with this in mind, Hamilton is not able to connect to the car like his teammate Russell, who, although he doesn't love how the car performs, is still better than his teammate in the qualifying process and in the general race pace. With this in mind, questions have arisen about whether Hamilton has what it takes to take the car with number 44 first through the checkered flag, as he has been constantly outperformed by his teammate in the previous season and starting in the new season as well. Not to shoot the messenger here, I am just stating facts, and although Hamilton is definitely the driver that has the potential to bring this team to the right track, I am talking about results from the racetracks, and they are not going heavily in his favour as we speak. Therefore, there is a huge possibility that Hamilton's preference will be met further down the road, as James Allison, the former technical director of the team, said that the team is working on suspension updates that would address the disconnection of Hamilton and the W14. Allison has been brought back to the team to steer the ship in the right direction, as he was responsible for the production of one of the fastest and most dominant cars that has ever hit the F1 world, the W11. Now he has the role of Chief Technical Officer in the team, with Mike Elliott doing his former job, and according to Allison, Mercedes will take advantage of the gap in the schedule before the Azerbaijan GP at the end of April to work on mechanical elements of the W14 F1's car, alongside the ongoing major aerodynamic rework that is the next big thing in Mercedes. When talking about it, Allison said, "We are working as hard as we can in the wind tunnel to find more downforce. We will be working as hard as we can in the drawing office to convert the things that the wind tunnel found a few weeks ago into performance that we deliver to the track." We will be working in the drawing office also to bring some mechanical parts to the car, some different suspension components that we think will help the underlying balance of the car and make it a more drivable thing, making it something that the drivers have more confidence to push right to the limits. And even though the team is not bringing any huge upgrades to Baku, as they'll hold on to the Imola GP for the big package that would involve the car's new design, it doesn't mean that they'll be showing up to Azerbaijan hoping that Verstappen's tyre will blow again like it did in 2021. According to Alonso, optimizing the setup in the simulator is essential for Azerbaijan, where on a sprint weekend, the first practice will be followed by qualifying. So these are some of the things that will be worked on by the team in order to maximize the performance out of the W14. On the other hand, I think that Russell is also not very happy with how the W14 has performed so far, but his approach to the car is a bit different. As he said that right now, the Mercedes 2023 Challenger is a bit of a wild horse that needs to be tamed. It still has a head, and it still doesn't want to when somebody rides it the way they do. So with a little bit of magic in the workshop and more understanding from the engineer's side, they can definitely unlock the potential that has been hindering their race results for so long. And while everyone is waiting for Imola as the first race where Mercedes will have a legitimate chance to win their first race of the season, the team itself believes that Baku will give them a proper opportunity as well. Although Mercedes is definitely not a team that has celebrated victories frequently at street circuits, with the new regulations and the sprint format, a lot can happen. Alonso was asked whether his two drivers will be able to fight up front, and his response was kept quite diplomatic, with him adding, "That is a very difficult question to answer. They are very different tracks. Where Melbourne had been front limited, putting more strain on the front axle, probably Baku will be rear limited. It's a very different set of circumstances. I think we got some reasons to think that as we keep working on our car, we will be able to make the hop from Melbourne to the different challenge of Baku and still have a good showing. But it will be only when we get there and put the car on the road that we will know that for sure." With this in mind, there is one more thing that Mercedes will have to fix if their car manages to compete for the wins. Who would be in charge of the team's progress? As Wolff mentioned earlier in the previous season, the respect between Hamilton and Russell is being kept at a high level because they are not fighting for wins. And in the first scenario that they started to fight for the checkered flag, such as Brazil last year and in Australia during the first couple of laps, we've seen sparks flying off. Russell has shown that he could definitely be the leader of the team, and with the new upgrades that are bound to suit Hamilton more in the following race, we are eager to see whether the 7-time world champion can take the throne as the #1 driver in his team after a troublesome period. What are your thoughts on the new upgrades for Hamilton? Let us know in the comments below.